Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. You have to see it to believe it, and we have a lot to see. Starting all the way back in 1971, we've played every video game in order of release. Where are we now? Well, come and join me at the beginning of December 1982. And no, we will not get physical, because we're going to play video games. The last one we were playing was the abysmal Atari's 3 holiday games. I don't know if I can forgive this for you, Atari, but you know what? It's not like I'm going to do something crazy like take down the entire video game industry. At least not yet. Let's see what our next video game is. It's now time to play on the Apple II. This is Triad. Not familiar with this one. Let's check it out and learn about it together. Here's the box for Triad. Not to be confused with Triad that we saw on the Commodore VIC-20 by Livewire. That was kind of like a Galaxian game. This is something completely different. Original looking box. It actually reminds me of a few titles we've seen by Creative Computing, and then, Adventure International. That's what it reminds me of. At least the artwork's slightly original, but you can kind of see what they're going for. It's tic-tac-toe on the front, with some weird, creepy imagery. You flip it over in the back, and you can see this is a slightly later box. The copyright's down at 1983, and I've mentioned this before. We're right at the end of December 1982, or at the beginning of December 1982, and at the end of this year, there's a lot of games that were released that get re-releases later in 83. This one thing you've been waiting for, a new arcade-style game. It's 9 games in one. That's pretty impressive. This marks the 443rd Apple II or Apple II series of computers video game we played. If you think that's a lot, we're even playing even more Apple II on the backlog videos. And the back of the box is Adventure International. This is the publisher that did this one. They changed it up. Usually the Adventure International has the same back of the box. This marks the 95th time we've played a video game that Adventure International has been a part of. They've done lots of adventure games, of course, Scott Adams and the original adventure games, but they've branched off and done lots of arcade games too. Some examples of games we've seen by them have been Stone of Sisyphus, Morton's Fork, Planetoids, The Eliminator, Armored Patrol, pretty good, Rearguard, Tutti Frutti, Sea Dragon, Preppy, Stratos, Eric's, and Tunnel Terror, just to name a few of Adventure International non-adventure games. What other artwork do we have for Triad? Oh, we have a later box, even later than that one. This one, I believe, is 1984 or 85. It's by publishing Thunder Mountain. You can see it says 64K. That's a lot that you would need on the Apple II. And then there's the box we've seen before. Yeah, there at Triad. It takes your old favorite, tic-tac-toe, and adds luck, skill, suspense, excitement, danger, and generous help of fast-moving, high-energy graphics. Man, I love marketing for video games right now. Oh, look at there, 1982. It says on the back of this Thunder International box. So maybe it was that. Here's the article you would have seen in magazines by Triad. 3 strikes and you win. You and a fellow player. If you want to play, okay, you can play some tic-tac-toe with someone else. We've seen a lot of tic-tac-toe already, so I'm not impressed yet. There's the 5 1/4 floppy disk. We've got to pop into play on the Apple II. Did it just say Accolade on that picture? We're not going to see Accolade for a while. And here's the manual. If you look at the inside sleeve, this is what you would find. The Apple and Atari versions are done by Ed Hobbs. Edward R. Hobbs. Way to go, Ed. This marks the 3rd game that we've seen him do. He did 2 versions of Sea Fox on the Apple II and the Atari home computer, and this is his next hot release. Let's see what he's got. Introduction tells us what Triad is. It's tic-tac-toe and adds a few things. The object of Triad is to win 3 game squares in a row, like tic-tac-toe. Don't worry, it's not Hollywood squares. The game board displays 9 different bugaboos, 1 in each square. At each turn, you can select a square to earn through battle. To win the square, you defeat the bugaboo. What is a bugaboo? They're just making up words, trying to be hip. When playing Triad in the 2-player mode, each player can set their own skill level. This feature can be used to handicap yourself or an opponent. Very nice feature. And you can see it says for Atari and Apple users, the loading is slightly different, and yes, it very much is. Here's the loading instructions. We don't really need it right now, but you would then. Believe me. Here's keyboard controls if you don't care for joysticks, but we do care for joysticks, and we want to use them, especially on the Apple II. Or an Atari home computer has the Atari VCS joystick. And then we have some special game functions to switch to 2-player mode here if you want to do keyboard or joystick. And we've seen a few of these keyboard commands in the past. To begin the game, after it loads, you select 1 or 2 player game, and then it breaks down how the game is working. You select one of the boxes, and then you play a square. Now, I'm not going to read the manual in its entirety. If you want to, pause the video and then read so you can get even more information. It's fairly simple to pick up and play because everyone's familiar with tic-tac-toe. And it breaks down the 2-player game as well. It even has a practice mode. If you want to start a 2-player game and then play by yourself, it kind of practices, lets you know. And then this tells you all about the bugaboos or the different enemies that you come across. You got moths, you got faces, you got bats, saucers, death masks, chessmen, arrows, spiders, killer bees, and that's a lot. That's actually quite a bit of game modes or enemies when you think of the games we've seen up to this point. All right, let's pop in that disc and play some Triad. Ed Hobbs, Adventure International at the beginning of December 1982. I'm ready. I got my analog joystick plugged in, took the paddles out. I'm going to play it for real. And there it is. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by going into 2-player mode. So I'm going to pretend I'm playing with somebody else. The screen that we're looking at here is one of the higher quality Apple II screens or computer game screens. It's even having a little information on the side as if to make you feel like you're in the arcade. I love that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into 2-player mode. You can see it added the score down on the bottom right. And then we just push a button. Or, sorry, there we go. Push a button and go. It randomizes it every time, so you have a little bit of fun element there. So what you do is you first select, I'm starting as X. You got to start in the center when you play tic-tac-toe. Ready? You go in, and then instead of just selecting a square, you play a multi-directional shooter game. And from the manual, all those enemies I listed all have different patterns, and it changes up. This one's pretty simple. You know, you just fly around and shoot the enemies. The enemies don't... Oh, we have mines that come out too. That's it. The farting sound effects of the Apple. I miss those. They still have them. We've seen some games, very rarely, I would say, less than 10 maybe, that have taken the Apple II sound to different heights. But for the most part, this is what you got. So if you win whatever you select, I was playing as X, they now take that square. And so now you can pick a different one. And what's great is, if you're familiar with the enemies and you played this a lot, you can say, okay, I'm going to be O, so I'm going to go ahead and go down here or here. You know what? I'm going to try the faces and say I'm familiar with the faces. So then you go into your mode, which means if you were really playing with someone else, you're going to be taking turns. You're going to be passing the joystick back and forth. I did not need to have 2 joysticks plugged in. So let's just break down the controls. It's a multi-directional shooter. I'm able to move around in 8 different directions and fire in 8 different directions. There is a turbo, so if I hold down the button, it will fire off the shots, but I can only fire 2 at a time. It's very reminiscent of some of the very early shooters that we played that allowed you only 1 shot, like in Space Invaders, and this one has only 2 before you can fire again. So you can't shoot again until it makes contact with something else. But what makes it intriguing is every time you pick a different area or square, you're going to get a different enemy pattern. And see, if you die, guess what happens? On 2-player mode, then no one gets that. See, it made a little line across it. And now X can play. Can X steal it? Yeah, X can go in and steal that if they wanted to. If you play a 1-player mode, which sounds a little boring to play a solitaire game, but it's actually okay because you can still practice and play a multi-directional shooter. Wow, look at the slowdown. I'm even playing on a slightly enhanced Apple II. There's a lot of movement happening on the screen right now, and I got to dodge enemy fire. And someone is bringing up in the chat Archon, which we haven't seen yet. This is an interesting concept to switch up what people think of as tic-tac-toe and add something new to it, kind of like much later Archon's going to do with board games. So I've never heard of this title, and while the gameplay is okay, it's slightly average, the presentation for this is very well done. It offers the 2 different play modes too, multiplayer, hot seat multiplayer competitive, or single player. And for multi-directional shooters, this marks the 164th multi-directional shooter video game that we played across all systems thus far. This one is the 86th multi-directional shooter that we played across all home computers, and it's the 20th that we played on the Apple II. Go! All the games that we played on the Apple II that have been multi-directional shooters all have been clones of Asteroids. Yeah, look how much faster this is. of Asteroids, of Space War, of Berserk, Star Castle, or Robotron 2084, except there's been a few games that wanted to do something new and different. One example is Bolo, if you want to check out that one. Star Maze is another one that doesn't come into its own classification. It did its own thing. Pandora's Box is even more out there for a multi-directional shooter. Then there's Spud and Mug. Spud and Mugshot, and Ice Demons was one we saw recently. Oh, this one just keeps multiplying and splitting. And because I only have 2 shots, I kind of have to watch my fire. See, if I just fire off, I gotta wait. Go for that one, and then it splits again. So it looks like I have to time my shot to get some good ones in here. Go for those 2 down there, and they just keep splitting. So you have to time. It feels like the enemies, at least the ones that we've seen so far, they're bullet sponges. They take a lot of shots before you can wipe them out. But you're meant to have a little bit of gameplay, not so much of a quick turn. Whenever you select a square, they want you to stay in here a little bit and have some fun and shoot around. But control-wise, it's fairly standard. I would say this one is just kind of simplistic when you think of the multi-directional shooters. But you got to admit, the presentation for this is very nice for this time. Let's see, took care of the mine. Let's see if I can take out these last 2 and claim the square. Here it is, one more. There we go. And then the board, it's tic-tac-toe. This is the 11th video game that has involved tic-tac-toe that we've seen so far on Chronologically Gaming. We've done 3D tic-tac-toe, which has been on multiple computers. We've done tic-tac-toe that's it. It's just tic-tac-toe, single player or by yourself. This video game, Triad, marks the very first time that a video game has combined something besides just tic-tac-toe. This is tic-tac-toe combined with something else. Unless you want to consider the Hollywood Squares ripoff game that we played. That was essentially tic-tac-toe because it was Hollywood Squares, and it wasn't associated with the official television game show. They kind of made it up. So you could consider that one the first one, or this one as the very first. No, I don't want to go in again. Die. Don't need to finish the whole board, but you have an idea of how it works, especially when you're playing a 2-player game. Let's go to this guy. Looks like, oh, they see different enemy patterns, and then we have looks like homing. Are they homing in on us? No, it doesn't look like they're homing in. The different faces remind me of games we played like Sneakers or Mega Mania. Changing up the enemy types is kind of cool. And also, as heavy emphasis on insects in video games, we've seen quite a bit up to this point. This one also offered you the ability to switch the difficulty level, at least this port did. The, let's see if we can go back in this one. The other port we're going to check out tonight does not have that option, or at least I couldn't see the option to switch things out. So a few things it has going forward, but I would say for the video games we've seen up to this point across all home computers, it is still fairly average. So thank you for playing Triad. It is fun, and it is original because we haven't seen something truly do this and mix tic-tac-toe together, but it's tic-tac-toe, so your mileage may vary. I would say for all the games you could play across all home computers, it's somewhere around the average range, maybe starting at 2.5 stars for everything that you can see up to this point. But because of the originality and because it does offer a 2-player mode that we were testing out today, I could say 3 stars. So looking over in the chat, I'm seeing a 3-star from Paul. What do we have? Gameplay, 1.5 for presentation, and then 2.5 from Tube Watcher. 3 stars, interesting idea. Marshall's going 3.5 to 4. Oh, nice memories. We got some nostalgia. Playing Triad, that's fun. There we go. Jay Mogler's going 3. I'm thinking as the fairly average, so 3 stars for all the games you could play across all home computers right now. But that's not all. We also have Triad released for the Atari home computer. While it wasn't an exact release date, back to back, they were so close that we're going to put them together and check them out at the same time. Box looks exactly the same because this is the same example that I was able to muster up. Adventure International is all here. Give some screenshots on the back. At least this slightly later box. And the other artwork we have for Triad. An ad you would have seen in magazines. You'll like it. And yeah, I like it. It's very good. Actually, you'll love it, it says. And it explains why. Because it's in a sense multiple games or multiple mini games, allowing you to shoot different enemies. And then an example of the screenshot on the Atari, but we don't need that. We do have the manual. It's the exact same one I saw before because this is the inside sleeve from the Atari version or the Apple II version. Not going to go through it again because we just pretty much read the exact same thing, or at least perused the exact same thing. Let's pop in that disc and play some Triad. Now on the Atari home computer, Ed Hobbs and Adventure International at the beginning of December 1982. Oh, that's great, Marshall. Then I'm already excited. This marks the 447th game we played on the Atari 8-bit line of computers. At this point, it's only the 400 and 800. And this one's great because now I can play on the Atari joystick. Now I'm going to go into a one-player game this time. I'm not going to go two-player. And then it begins again. Select what you want. Let's do this one in the middle. It says X plays. Oh, that's smooth. So control already feels good. Notice the lack of color compared to the Apple II, but I'm really wanting to see if it has the same performance for speed. Same that we saw before. I have turbo fire. 2 shots before it runs out. I can blow up the mines. There you go. Oh, I didn't want to go into it that fast. But the way this one works is, when you play a single-player game, let's say I'm going to lose this square and blow up, then it takes it as a 0. So you can see 0 space. So if I go up here, let's select this one. Which, by the way, that selection screen is pretty nice, considering we've played chess, board games, and even tic-tac-toe games where you are not selecting it using the joystick. You'd have to use quadrants or coordinates. Oh man, see how many shots? Look how many shots these enemies take. In a world where we played hundreds upon hundreds of space shooters, it's not as refreshing to have that many shots. So now you notice when you play a one-player game, it replaces that square with an O. So if I were, for example, to go up here in the top right and lose again, then I would lose because the O's would have it. Let's see if I can do it. Got it. Okay, so block that one. Looks pretty good. Let's go for this one. See if we can get X to win, and then we win. So when you play a one-player game, you're always playing as X. Whoa. Almost lost it. So even though I was playing on an Apple IIe, a slightly buffed Apple IIe, we were getting a little slowdown. But this one, I feel like is performing faster. I don't know if I would be able to rate it differently. Now, why isn't it going away? Do I have to shoot it in a certain spot? Maybe it was supposed to shoot in a different spot. I lost it. I lost my victory. So this is still really cool, being able to go from game mode to game mode. Or essentially shoot different enemies. And then it's a refreshing way to play tic-tac-toe by yourself. So if you got no one to play with, of the other times we played tic-tac-toe up to this point, even 3D tic-tac-toe, it's not as impressive. This one actually is a well-done space shooter, arcade space shooter. And they're not trying to exactly copy something else. Something else to point out is the way you move around. It's absolute control. So while it looks like I'm flying around like asteroids, I'm not. It's controlled where I move left or right. Whenever I move right, it goes right. When I go left, it goes left. Is that it? Just blow up the arrow? There, and I win. And X wins, and the game's over. All right, so what would you think? If you played this compared to the Apple II version, would you rate one higher than the other? Or would you rate it exactly the same? In my opinion, this one's so close, it's negligible. I wouldn't want to say this one's rated differently than the Apple II version. It's a very well-done port. Ed Hobbs did a fantastic job. So I'm going to go 3 stars as well. Marshall's saying 3.5. Nice. James saying 3.5, and essentially bumping it up a little bit. I like it. I'm still going to go 3 stars. Of all the games you could play right now across all home computers, this is polished, but I'd still say fairly average considering everything that's available. And keep in mind, we've broken the curve. We have some really, really amazing computer games that blew my mind. I didn't know they existed right now. But then we have way lower on the spectrum some really bad turds. So there's Paul, 3 stars, and then 3 for this one as well. Very nice. All right, that's Triad. What in the world could be next? Coming up next, it's Video Gaming Illustrated. Not going to play a game at all. We're going to check out the latest issue. This is December 1982. And look who's on the cover. It's E.T. Of course E.T.'s on the cover. I think we've seen E.T. on the cover of 3 magazines, if I'm correct. And remember, we're not reading everything, but that's pretty cool. So I got a little cursor here, if you look over the side, that I'm going to use to help point out certain things in the magazine. I'm obviously not going to read the entire magazine, but look at the cover. They have a glowing E.T. playing off of the hype of the game, because right now it's really big. E.T. comes home. Yes, it does. And then we say there's a game that takes 6 months to play. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe Time Zone? Computer? And then Balbug saying he's high as a kite. Yeah, if he's glowing that much, does that mean he's done drugs? I'm not sure. It also tells you how to conquer Zaxxon. Oscar-winning Atari. Who'd be an Oscar winner right now in December 1982? And then we have the most frightening video game of all. Is it 3D Monster Maze? Because that's the most frightening, in my opinion, that we've seen so far. And then we got the Occult, too. All right, let's crack open. Smell that? It's December 1982. So this is great. Ad for ColecoVision, and it's a kid telling his dad, this has everything we want about the ColecoVision. I'm still impressed with this system, moreover than the Atari 5200 up to this point. Great ad, great system. Not quite pushing the boundaries to go into like a next console generation, but ColecoVision is fantastic. What do we got over here? Pac-Man, Star Master, Defender. Yeah, majority of the games we've seen so far that you can play now on the ColecoVision because of the expansion module. Flip to the next page, we got Mega Mania, very well done shooter. Plays very, very well. And thinking of the considering we just played a few shooters on a home computer, this one's really good for a home console. And for the table of contents, I'm actually going to breeze by the table of contents because we're going to go through the whole thing. Let's read all of Video Gaming Illustrated. What do you got? All right, over on the left side is the editorial, Jeff Rovin, editor-in-chief. And they're bringing up different things about the history of Atari and the history of video games. Now, I'm not going to read the entire article, but it's fascinating because they understand there are some games that are not very, very high quality video games. But at this point, December 1982, it's not like the writing's on the wall. So it's almost like they're wanting you to overlook those games that aren't as popular or as very good quality than the others. Oh, there we go, Brian. Yeah, ColecoVision, best home console besides the Vectrex. Hopefully we see a Vectrex ad in here. All right, on this side, this is the Ion section, which is the future. What's going to be the cool games that you can play out there? So they have serious video games, serious software, and we've already seen these either on the Atari 2600 or also on the Atari home computer. You got Deadly Duck, World War I, Beanie Bopper, and Fast Eddie. We've seen all those. Majority of them are fairly well done. World War I and Beanie Bopper are excellent for shooters on the Atari. And then we have movie studios wanting to say you can put your face. Oh, this is kind of cool. So this is about you could put your picture and print it off on your printer as if it was a wanted poster, from the Old West. Now, this is December 1982. And nowadays, when you think of photography or printing, it's everywhere. This would have been a really cool thing to be able to put your picture and print out your picture and pretend like it's a wanted poster. I remember things like this, little niche things that would come out that would excite you. It's pretty cool. Okay, so the other down here in the bottom right, it's about Activision making a debut overseas. They're going to have some games that they're bringing across the globe. Activision is getting so popular, they're going global. Bring it on. And here's some more previews of everything that's going to come on. This one's a very bizarre article about the air traffic controller video game. Someone was complaining that you didn't provide the map, and then they did down here in the bottom right. I didn't know there was diehard air traffic controller fans, but here's your map. Yeah, you can't please everybody. And then we have the Odyssey Adventure. This is a journal of high score video gamers. You want to stack against champions. Who's got the highest scores? Because right now in December 1982, high scores are all the rage. Every manual we always read, and the majority of the games say that the point of the game is to get a high score. And so you can see how you stack up compared to everybody else out there. That's true. If you start pleasing, you will never stop. I don't know why. It would be fun to put a bounty on yourself, though, because just seeing your picture, printing it off with your picture is fun. Or maybe you do it like putting your picture of your mom, wanted for $40,000 or something. All right, so over here is about suing Gottlieb. What game is it? Caveman. The manual accompanies the pinball. Oh, pinball. Interesting. Not about video games. Down here in the bottom right is the new headquarters of Activision. Their new home in Milpitas. What is that? Louisville, Kentucky? No, that's where they're from. Okay, Jim Levy must be a part. Yep, President Jim Levy of Activision. And this is their new headquarters. And then over here, they have for pros only, video game repair people. And then we have pairing up Missile Command with McDonald's. Did anybody remember that? I have no memory of it. Eat and Run, assuming you become no interest in becoming a video vet. They have video restaurants. And then over here, this was an interesting article. It said it had to happen. No, it did not. This month and next, we'll see the release of the first X-rated video games, the work of a new company named Mystique, formed from the Caballero Control Corporation, an American multiple industries handling programming of the games. The first 3 releases are Atari compatible through Intellivision versions will be produced in the near future. No, they never did. The initial games are Custer's Revenge, Beat 'em and Eat 'em, and Bachelor Party. This magazine is talking about X-rated video games and saying that they had to happen. What is wrong with him? We've already seen one of the games. Yeah, we've already seen Custer's Revenge and then one of the alternate versions of it. The other ones will be coming up on the show, but again, if it's X-rated, we're not going to be playing the games. To start a trend, because we know that later on there will be additional X-rated video games, and not going to get into any of that. But this is just blows my mind. Why would you put this in? This is one of the reasons that there was an issue with the video game industry, because these games came out. They say that these games are going to cost $50. Can you imagine paying $50 for Custer's Revenge? That's incredible. It also says that they are going to be released on the Intellivision with a voice module so you can talk to the games. That never happened, and I'm so glad it didn't ever happen. That's ridiculous. Yes, Paul, some of the worst games ever made. I can barely call Custer's Revenge a game. It's a walking simulator. All right, then we got Empire Strikes Back over here. Atari 2600 goes on sale, retailing at $299. And you can get, what did they talk about? Oh, this is about the Emperor Strikes Back, not the Empire. Getting some good deals there. Very nice. Flipping on to the next page, it's all about the new 5200 Super System. We've already seen the first few games and launch titles of 5200, as well as some others. You can see we got Galaxy in there, Pac-Man, Star Raiders, and I don't think we've seen... Oh, no, Real Sports Soccer. Yeah, we have. Very, very good. And then right here is Gangster Alley, fun time, shooter. Had a blast with that one. And this one's a nice article about the making of video games. We've seen a few magazines that hit on how you create the cartridges, how you develop the games. It is awesome. I love that magazines had it now to explain what it is. Yes, that one is worse. Bachelor, it's all bad. I don't know why they brought it up in an article. So this is kind of fun. It's talking about how they would create the arcade game or build the cabinet as well for Atari Starship 1. That's really fun. All right, moving on to the right side, we have a field guide to video game ETs. And it says here, the phenomenally popular film, E.T., is about to become a home video game from Atari. The announcement comes as a surprise to absolutely no one. E.T. is a popular game, at least right now, because it was just released December 1982. I don't know if you happened to check out that episode. We had the creator of E.T., Howard Scott Warshaw, here on Chronologically Gaming. I don't usually do a plug like this, but this is one of the best events we had of 1982 so far on Chronologically Gaming. Having the creator of two of very popular games, E.T., we're playing the game. He's even giving tips and tricks, as well as explaining lore and history. It was a phenomenal /interview /let's play with Howard Scott Warshaw. And E.T. was one of the games that we checked out. This magazine is also going to hit on another release that was out at sometime in November. We did them both together. We kind of fudged the chronological order because it was Howard Scott Warshaw. But we did check out and play Indiana Jones as well. We didn't beat Indiana Jones. I think we could have beaten it in I believe he said 15 minutes. But it was a blast. I'll include links down below if you want to see this interview or episode with Howard Scott Warshaw. All right, so this article is essentially about other ETs or aliens in video games, like the aliens from Alien Invasion, Astro Battle, to kind of remind you that not all the aliens are nice like ET. And then you got some more over on this side, Alien Invaders Plus. Oh, Yara's Revenge, very nice. Space Armada, Demon Attack, Space Invaders, Space Cavern. And then over here, this was the Oscar winner. Does anyone know who this is without even looking it up? The Oscar-winning actor talked about his good friend Ray Kassar, the man who runs Atari. He knows Ray Kassar? I didn't think so. But anyway, this is Cliff Robertson. Cliff is the Oscar winner for, let's see, PT-109 in his performance in Charlie in 1968. So that's what it's from. I am not familiar. It's beyond, yeah, there you go. Marshall already popped in and said. So this is an article about what he thinks about video games, showing his role in a few different titles, and then there's his Oscar-winning role as Charlie. Even if you knew Ray Kassar, I guess right now would be kind of cool. But if I were to tell you, I know who Ray Kassar is, no one would care, or one of you involved, because we know the history behind it. Oh, fantastic! Black Sheep Squadron. This one right here. No, it's oh, they're saying he did ARC battle in real life, because that was on the Atari 2600. Over on the right, we got a great article, or I'm sorry, a great picture on Super Gaming, and this is a continuation of what they talked about last issue: how to hook up a strobe blaster to your joystick. Great picture, but essentially a strobe blaster just makes it so you have a light on your Atari joystick. This is telling you how to wire and set up a power unit and set up a way to show that you've activated the red button. That is a lot of work. Imagine how easy it is now. And they made it in an article. And then over here in movies, Halloween 3 is out, or close to being out. It looks like Rocky 3, Superman 2 are out, Jaws 2, Friday the 13th, Part 2. So many sequels for horror games. And it's interesting, it's the December issue, which would have been released in November. Why are they talking about horror so much? Yeah, look at this. We got Halloween masks and more horror video games. Maybe because they want to talk about the more recent horror video games, or the ones that came out this year. This is an ad we've seen several times before. This is M Network, which is essentially Mattel bringing their video games from the Intellivision, Mattel Intellivision, to the Atari 2600. Because, hate to break it to you, Mattel, the Atari 2600 was more popular than the Intellivision. They got to get the money. So keep flipping on. We go to our next article, a really big one. It's about The Incredible Wizard, Astrocade's finest cartridge yet. It goes through lots of details, and if you didn't tune in to whenever you played Astro Wizard, this was essentially Wizard of War, the first time, or one of the best times, that you could play it on a home console. This is still, in my opinion, one of the best games you could play across any home console up to this point, and they're showing one-player mode in this gameplay footage, but it has two-player compatible, like you did in the arcade. This is right before we were going to see Wizard of War released on the Atari 2600, but still a good time. Really, really fun. All right, and then, so the article is breaking down strategies, patterns, and controlling the game. Very well done if you want to have a good read about The Incredible Wizard. And they have a comment. It could sell a lot of Astrocade units, and I believe it. This is one of the killer apps for the home console that we don't get as much love for. But to tell you the truth, it's much better than some of the other home consoles like the Emerson Arcadia. The Ballet Astrocade does beat that one out, in my opinion. And then we have over Wizard of War, they have the actual screenshot down here, and then comparing it to the arcade, which is kind of nice. Over here, we got some more video games. This one's just hilarious because they talk about Demons to Diamonds, one of the Atari's most delightful games. You begin the game with a gun base, which can be reborn a total of 4 times. Your target are demons, which shuffle overhead in horizontal paths at different levels. What in the world is wrong with Atari? It's just delightful. Shooting demons? Hey, they're onto something. Shooting demons. Maybe it'll catch on. And then we have Empire Strikes Back, which is, they're comparing it to Chopper Command. Both are Defender-like games. Then we have Frog Pond. Berserk's over here, which they're saying similar to Incredible Wizard. It has its merits, but I would say Incredible Wizard's pretty cool compared to the Berserk port. I love it though. And then they actually have one not recommended down here in the bottom right. They're saying Racquetball, which we have played that one. This one's by Apollo, another third-party publisher on the Atari 2600. They say avoid Racquetball, but they do say check out Space Cavern and Lost Luggage. Yeah, spend your money on that. So they are biased. They actually tell you not to buy something. And then over here on the right, we got an ad for text, movies, and then over here is Atari. And Atari is #1 right now. December 1982 is, at this point, someone mentioned that this show, Chronologically Gaming, has cataloged every video game release up to the point of the crash. Now, it's 1983 whenever we start seeing some of the cracks show and less video games released. This year, though, has been jam-packed. Lots and lots of console video games have been released, and we've been cataloging the amount of releases, the amount that's been pushed out for all these consoles. Apparently, by 1983, near the end, is when they start slowing down, and then in 1984 is when we really see this drop-off. And I'm interested to see how it's going to be on the show, where you notice that there's less coming out on Atari consoles and more starting to pop up in Japan. If anything, I'm curious. I have no idea what to expect. And we flip on, and here we do, instead of Incredible Wizard, they break down Pitfall. And this one's fantastic. I've actually been having a blast myself right now playing Pitfall, trying to get all the achievements on RetroAchievements. Did anyone know that there is an ending to Pitfall? You can collect all 32 treasures in the game, and the game ends. I had no idea. I always thought Pitfall was, especially playing it as a kid, they just have a time limit to see how many treasures you can get, and after the time goes up, that's it. The game's over. But no, it has an ending. The game will end if you get all 32 treasures. So I've been having a blast trying to do that and knock that one out. I'm so close. I'm about to get it for the first time. And then we go to our next article about Haunted House. It's still bizarre seeing this in the December issue of Video Gaming Illustrated, but it's been a while. We saw Haunted House a while back, and this one is a lot of fun. I also have recently gone through and got all of the achievements and played every single game mode and completed it. The footage we're seeing here of Haunted House is the first game mode, which allows you to see ghosts. You have like unlimited matches. By matches, I mean the ones you light. See how your eyes, the glow around your eyes. But this game mode allows you to see the ghosts and enemies no matter what room you're in. So that kind of gives away the illusion. But when you start playing the harder game modes, especially the last one where everything's randomized, it is a lot of fun. Really, really cool. And what you just saw was the game footage. The reason I wanted to show it was, look at the difference. What artwork is this? This feels who said it, Marshall? It feels like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This has, in my opinion, nothing to do with Haunted House. Maybe they wanted to have something scary to put up. It's very well done artwork, but I don't see, how is this relating to the Zachary Graves mansion? And you can see they're breaking down the pieces of the magic urn you have to find, the different game variations, patterns, strategies. And then they say, this is one of the few cartridges that forces players to make thoughtful choices. This magazine claims this is the first horror game. And while the cartoon-like graphics only suggest menace, the sound effects are quite moody. That's true. Lightning and wind is done very well here. Atmospheric variation is used in Adventure. And that's true. They use the similar engine, that Adventure, Warren Robinette's Adventure for this. But I love it. That's great. Yeah, doesn't it look like Gollum? Who mentioned that? Powpuck? Yeah, why? That has nothing to do with the game, unless it's supposed to be the person who owned the mansion. I'm not sure. Here we got an ad for the IntelliVoice, so we can hear B-17 Bomber. Had fun doing that. We played several IntelliVoice games already. I don't think we got the whole collection. I think we're only missing one that we haven't seen yet. So look for that on Chronologically Gaming. Over here we got an arcade ad for Blueprint that we have seen in the arcades. Very fun. And then on the right is Arcadia, which is the other home console I was talking about. Let's see what we got. Oh, we don't have any pictures? That's a smart choice, Arcadia. Arcadia 2001, is that what they're talking about? Oh, this is about Exidy. Pepper 2, Mousetrap. Wait, was this it? This is all the ad for Arcadia. Wait, Orl of Arcades Pinball. Oh, okay, so this is not based on the console. I thought it was an ad for the console. Over here on the right, this is the Exidy games. Loving Exidy right now. They've done Venture. You can see up here is Crush Roller, and then we got Mousetrap over on the right side. Very well done arcade games, and some of them have been ported home. that we've seen as well. Lots. And then over here on the next page, we got Pepper 2. Seen this one in the arcades. It's a well-done Amador variant. At this point, though, we've seen a game that was for the Atari home computer that I would say is even better than some of these arcade games. It's very, very well done. That's been ripped off from Amador. And then Victory is fantastic. This is an excellent arcade game. Kind of reminds me of a raster version of Gravatar, if you like that, or a cave-style shooter or a thrust game. Lots of fun. And here's Robotron 2084. Which one? Because right now we've seen a few variations or variants or clones of Robotron, but I think they're talking about the arcade version, because there's not an official one that we played at home at this point. Let's see, Grunts. Yeah, they're talking about the arcade one. Do we have pictures? Yeah, that's awesome. They're breaking down, look at all the characters. So you can read a magazine. Did anyone bring the magazines into the arcade when you have all these tips and tricks to try to get the high score? On the right side, we have the Conquering Video Games book. Very nice. And then, yes, Conquering Zaxxon. Again, this one's about the arcade version. At this point, we played Zaxxon at home, both on the Atari 2600 and the ColecoVision. Totally different games, though. The Atari 2600 was kind of its own game. It's still pretty impressive for the Atari, too. Yes, Robotron 2084. It was like Defender. Marshall's bringing that up because the twin stick game wasn't the first. It was kind of cool that when we played every game up to this point, we saw other video games that were using the twin sticks. But Robotron 2084 is similar to Defender. It is epic. Eugene Jarvis delivers this just incredible, fast-paced Twitch game. It's so fun. And we're talking about that while Zaxxon's in the background. Zaxxon's awesome too. Very, very fast. We've even seen Super Zaxxon, which is even harder. So if you thought Zaxxon was too easy, then you're not going to like Super Zaxxon. And then we have Zektor 2. I believe that's Atari, right? No, Sega. That's right. Sega did Zektor. Or Sega Gremlin. A color vector-based graphics. Very nice. And then over here is artwork for Ulysses and the Golden Fleece, which is nowhere to be found on any of the artwork we've seen so far. This is an adventure game on home computers, but you can see what they're going for. This is one of the first times we've seen artwork that is trying to play off the Conan the Barbarian, super macho, that we're going to see a lot later in the later 80s. But where'd they get the artwork from? Did they make it for the magazine? This is what the game looks like. There we go. That's a still shot. Ulysses and the Golden Fleece is another one of the Sierra Online video games that allows you to have a still screenshot and you're moving through a world, essentially flipping through different screens, drawing the maps, and discovering the puzzles to solve it. But lots of fun. I believe we gave it 4 stars. I'll have to check, but it's a well-done adventure game that you can play right now. And cool that they brought it up here in the magazine. And then the original Zaxxon. Alien Entrenchments loom ahead. You dive ships toward. Okay, they're saying the original was based on these books, and over here is other books, science fiction books. So, Video Gaming Illustrated, the magazine, has been advertising movies. They've also been advertising other pop culture things like science fiction. Yes, Chris, I'm with you there. ColecoVision's Venture is so good, very, very well done. And then we have some letters that have been sent out to the editor. They have a few items. I don't see anything that's jumping out to me that we would want to bring up. Look at considering the meantime useless. Okay, they're talking about the books and video games and the home units. I'd like to know what your staff thinks of the best home video games. The definitive answer. So at this point, December 1982, they say the best label is the one we feel that should be left to individual players. So they're essentially not answering the question. Yeah, that's helpful. And then over here is ad for preview, which is pop culture. Lots of stuff there like Indiana Jones. Over here is other books. Again, they're bringing up books that you should buy. And the one they have here is Hand Shadows. That's not even video games. We're here. Come for the video games. Stay for the weird books. And on the right side is the following up of other articles. This one is about close-up. You can see here they have Moon Patrol, another excellent arcade game. Parallax scrolling. It's a thing. It's amazing. I love it. And then we have Super Gaming. Okay, how to wire up. And then this down here, I believe that's... Well, Triple Play is... Oh, this is just 3 people on top. Okay. I don't believe Star Blast is a game per se, or a real game. And then we got championship video gaming. And that's a thing as well. Competitive video gaming is amazing. Over here on the right side is a horrendous artwork of your mom coming into the arcade and dragging you out. That's very scary. Maybe it was based on real life events. And then we have Planet Patrol, which is kind of cool. It had a slight day and night cycle, sort of. I mean, I'm kind of stretching the truth when you think of all the video games up to this point. And then we have Indiana Jones that we mentioned before, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Very nice. And then space games, we have now Frog games, and we've seen that as well. They're bringing up Frog and Frog Bog, Frogger, and Frog Pond. There's even more. We've played plenty of variants of Frogger. Isn't that scary? That's a freaky looking picture. And then over here, they're talking about how video games are bad for us, detracting from computers. Steve Wozniak committed to keeping America vital by uniting resources of business, technology, government, and education. He added that music was a means of showing people how working together and society could be improved. Thanks, Stefan Wozniak? Wait, what? That's not how you spell his name, right? Isn't it Steve? I've never heard I don't know how you can see the spelling. I wonder if that's a typo or if that's his legal name. And then we have Dracula coming soon. And yes, we will be seeing Dracula soon. There's also a lot of licensed games coming soon that I'm not particularly looking forward to. But in defense, we have seen some pretty good ones. They've been okay up to this point. We have some apologies from Video Gaming Illustrated, and they got more ways to spend your money right here with Wabbit. I don't know if Wabbit, it looked okay, but Wabbit wasn't a particularly impressive video game. And then some more video games over here on the side. Tilting, first time Williams Electronics, went from electromechanical video games or electromechanical games to video games. And then they've done so successful, there's a games channel now. And that's correct. Right now you can play a fee to have video games shot into your house from the telephone line. Amazing. December 1982 has that too. Over here is one of the most bizarre ads I've seen to sell a magazine. If you look on the left, the top left, does your office routine sap your sanity? And I believe this is Lost Planet picture. And then they have Miracle on 34th Street. They just picked random pictures from other mediums to try to sell Video Gaming Illustrated. Maybe not the highest quality. Over on the right side, they're picking up where they left off with Robotron with some tips and tricks. Robotron is awesome right now. And now the moment I've all been waiting for. After Zaxxon, down here in the bottom right, we've seen this before where the magazines are going to tell us what the stars or stars of film or television think about video games. Are you ready? This is Helen Hayes, star of stage and screen. She says, "I can't bear to think about electronic entertainment becoming entirely electronic. Maybe I'm just too old to take up things like that, but I'm really depressed about computers in general. I think it's terrible that hundreds of thousands of computers are being used in our schools. And in losing the little red schoolhouse, we're losing our humanity." Wow, was that really a quote by Helen Hayes? How did they get Helen Hayes? Or did they just put a picture of Helen Hayes and say, this is what she said? Regardless, though, this is epic. Here's Betty Davis, legendary actress, and what she says video games are like. "I think without a doubt that video games are absolutely horrendous. Mentally, they're horrendous. I think it's better that families play real games together. Checkers, Scrabble, Monopoly. I think it's ridiculous to try and play those games or others like them on a TV screen. If I was bringing up children today, I wouldn't allow it. I think it's terrible on their eyes. I don't think the next generation of people are going to have any vision. Half the time they're in there playing those games, they should be outside playing other things. Or reading books. I've heard that people think they are therapy. Come on, let's have aggression with one another and get it out of our systems." What? That took a really strange turn there. See, is that a real quote from Betty Davis? And is it a real quote right now in December 1982? And then they also have Patricia Neal, star of Day the Earth Stood Still and Ghost Story, saying, "I think they're great." So at least, one star thinks they're fantastic. Yeah, that's right, Marshall. So she thinks they're fantastic. I mean, she still likes Monopoly and Scrabble and all the games that Betty Davis loves too, but they're even better. And then over here we got even more Q&A from other stars, celebrities. And here we go. This is their section called You Read It Here First. It's a selection of games that don't exist. And I like to read things like this to see if we've actually seen anything like this. So this is their idea of video games that don't exist yet, but they're providing a synopsis or a plot. So the first one's David and Goliath, the video game. It's a kingdom builder versus the Philistine champion, armed with a slingshot. So you play as David and Goliath. You're allowed 3 Davids before the game ends, and the trick is to stun Goliath. Hilarious. The only biblical video game we've ever played was the Davka Corporation, which was a Jewish corporation that made a video game for the Apple II that was essentially the fall of Jericho as a video game. That's the only one we've seen so far. We are going to see a David and Goliath much, much later, though. That's hilarious. And then we got L5 is a point in space when the tug of the moon's gravity and the pull of the Earth hold an artificial planet between them. Your task is to build an artificial world. There's no shooting or flying involved. There are controls of a master computer directing various spaceships around their task. So very interesting concept. And there's a little artwork. Yeah, and David's really hot right now at the time of this recording. David from the Bible. I think there's 3 new shows that have come out with David. But video games now, we haven't seen one yet. And here's another one. Interesting foreshadowing. Quasimodo. Notre Dame will never be the same. You take the side of the legendary Hunchback. We're going to see one, I believe 1984, maybe 1983. The Hunchback video game, but that's too funny. They're proposing a video game with Quasimodo. And then look at this one, Lassie. Timmy's got himself into a real trouble now. He was trying to tip a nest of hummingbirds from a branch when a limb cracked and sent him flying. He's climbing onto the tree while raging rapids try to carry him toward the waterfall. So it's the Lassie video game, which I don't believe there's even a Lassie video game right now. Quick, someone look that up. That's hilarious. And then we have a bobsled racing game, which we have not seen a bobsled racing game. Another foreshadowing of the winter games or the collection of video games that we're going to see later. A Synapse game. Wait, Synapse did Lassie or Quasimodo? Or was it bobsled? All the while you're spinning round and round in the bobsled. That's awesome. And then after that, we got to add over on the right side from Atari again. Star Raiders is fantastic. And that's it. Into the magazine has The Wizard of Odyssey. And this is the other console, which I don't think we had a lot of coverage in this magazine for. But The Wizard of Odyssey has been the one in the commercials, and it's essentially selling it's a computer and a console. But majority of the consoles have done that too. I know, right? Yeah, winter games, that's it. We're going to see that one a lot later. All right, this is where we got to put all our video game reading and playing on pause. Thanks so much, everyone, joining me here live for the show in December 1982. Having some fun going game by game by game by game, seeing the slow evolution of the entire video game industry. And another big shout out for everyone that's currently on our Patreon supporting the show. Members like you make it so that we can play more games, have more times during the week, and just continue on this very crazy quest or project, if you will. And I really appreciate everyone that's been supporting by sending comments out or just watching the episodes after the fact. It's been a blast. So much fun. Well, next time on Chronologically Gaming, we play one of the most spectacular, most influential video games we have ever seen thus far on the show, and you don't want to miss it. That's it for today, and like I always say, E.T. is not the reason that video games are bad. You are. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and be a Chronologically Gaming influencer, rating the games as we play them. This video wouldn't be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and Main. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every video game. We have links down below that give more information on the games we played this episode, as well as our Discord and Patreon. There's a link called All the Games We Have Played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.